you are listening and or watching to Contrast, the podcast where we discuss all things design, dev, everything in between. I'm your host, Lexi Tenney, joined by our other hosts, Peter Del Tondo and Mike Jones. And we are here with the man, the myth, the acronym MDS, otherwise known as Matt D. Smith. How's it going?
It's going fantastic. I really appreciate that intro. I'm gonna have to remember that for the next time.
I was gonna say, if that's not how you're introduced at every conference now going forward, the acronym, that's great. That was top notch.
Brilliant.
Well, I was so confused when we were scheduling because someone kept saying Matt, and I was like, who? Which one's Matt? Like, we have these other guests. Which one? I didn't see Matt. And then I was like, oh, MDS, because I follow you on socials and everything is MDS, which Mike and I were like, how did you get that on Twitter? How did you get that handle? Did you have to buy it or did you just get in early?
On Instagram, I just signed up early. Like way back in the day, it was like, oh, there's a photo sharing app. I just signed up and it was available. And on Twitter, I initially signed up under my like business name, which is like Studio MDS. Because back in 2008 or 9, when I first signed up for Twitter, I didn't know what I was going to be tweeting. But then I found out really quickly that I was tweeting about something in the grocery store. And I'm like, this is not very ideal for a business handle. And, probably did the whole existential crisis thing where you're like coming up with a business name and you can't think of anything. And finally, you're just like, I'll just use my name. My initials. And so there was a kid, somebody named like Michael David Sexton or something like this on Twitter, who had tweeted about Pee Wee Herman like once and never, ever again had tweeted at all for years and years and years. And his handle was MDS. And I was like, Michael, curse you. And so probably around 2013 or so, I had some friends that got acqui-hired by Twitter. They had a design agency, and somehow he had the golden keys to the kingdom for a brief period in time.
Oh, man.
And I DM'd him, and I was like, hey, a little birdie told me you might be able to grab me an unused Twitter handle. And he was like, okay, I can't like give it to you, but I can unlock it because this one is past the due date or whatever. And so he DM'd me, and I snatched it back up, and it was like,
dude,
the best Christmas morning I've ever experienced. Like, yes. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's a great story.
I really worked.
Definitely.
I mean, I worked it. I had a vision for it, and I somehow I pulled it to reality.
I love that.
That's great. That's perfect. I hit somebody up for my Instagram handle and was like, look, I was getting married and I really wanted the specific handle, and she was getting married and it was her maiden name. And so I literally just DM'd her and I was like, congratulations on your engagement. Also, I'm engaged. When you get married, can you give me your handle? And so sometimes you just gotta, send the weird DM. I'm sure she was like, who is this psycho who's planning out her Instagram handle? But it's what you do when you're in marketing. It did. I have the one I wanted.
I didn't know that about you.
I think there's a good lesson in here. Like some people will just see like, oh, it's already taken. And they just go back and they just accept that as a reality. Other people are like, okay, it's taken, but how can I scheme and craft and like really work towards going to do it?
I love that.
Some things work better than others, but
what are you out? A little bit of your time?
That's right.
It's worth a try for sure.
Never hurts to ask.
Ever.
Alrighty.
That's the way to go.
I'm going to have Mike kick us off.
Well, I want Matt to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about him. Like, let's do that. Why don't you tell us about you, what you do, who you are, family, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, my name is Matt, and I go by MDS on the internet, and I just always identify as a designer. So if people ask what I'm doing or what do I do, I just say I'm a designer. And if they pry more deeply, I will let them, and I will go, oh, I design interfaces for apps like mobile apps and web applications. And depending on who it is, they will end up telling me about their small business idea or something. I'm like, no, I don't do marketing websites. You should just use Squarespace. But that's pretty much how I introduce myself as a designer. And nowadays, I mostly teach design to other people who are kind of coming up in the product design world or that are in the product design world and they're trying to level up and kind of get a solid system for approaching all things user interface design.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Very cool. So that really was the question of how would you explain what you do to your mom if she asked you, the last 5%.
I've tried to explain to my mom, and I don't know if she still fully understands.
Without designer jargon. Tell me what you do without being designery. Like that's always a challenge for me too. Like, how do I explain what I do to people who don't understand what I do?
I had a hard time even explaining to people what graphic design is. When I was studying graphic design in college, it's like, what is that? I'm like, just look around, like a logo on your hat, book cover, anything that's got a graphic anywhere, a sign, a billboard, like it's all graphic design.
That's actually a really good way to do it. Like, see all these things? Somebody had to make them.
Logo on your shirt,
make those things.
See the tag in the back of your thing here, like.
Well, I wanted to shout out for anyone that's listening and is maybe checking out your courses for the first time. I know I hit Matt up about this probably about a year or two ago. We had one of our now designers who he's been with us for years, but in different roles and capacities, and wanted to make the shift into product design. And the first thing we did was we said, go sign up for Shift Nudge. We took care of that course for him and said, hey, we want you to start here. And the foundation that laid for him, I don't know how much you may still chat with him, but like, dude, you see his work now and you would have no clue. He
That's
really
amazing.
just started down this path 2 years ago. It's not even 2 years. It's absolutely wild to see.
Yeah.
So great course to get either started in design or even hone the skills if you're a more seasoned designer. It's always the first one that I recommend to people. And I can actually say as one of the few courses out there, this is something we've actually purchased now, I think multiple times for people over the years in the last maybe 8 years or so. So great course. Make sure you check it out.
Definitely.
Amazing. Love to hear
100%.
that.
Yeah, it is wild to see because I know who you're talking about. His work has completely shifted since I've known him, which is about the time that he started Shift Nudge and started the course. And the stuff he's making now, showcasing on Fridays, is leaps and bounds different and better and more polished than when he started.
Train of thought, like how he thinks through problem solving too, is way different. It's been a wild transition to see him grow. So thanks for making one of our teammates better.
Yeah.
We love it.
You said that wrong spacing whispers louder than color. What is your quick tell that the spacing is off?
I think I kind of, whenever I'm kind of evaluating any interface specifically, I'm looking for what I call layout connectors, which are really kind of like an invisible grid.
Oh yeah.
And so if your logo is left aligned with your body copy, and there's also down in the footer, there's also something that's on that kind of invisible left align, or there's, you can kind of see, okay, they used a 12 column grid, or there's some sort of connection. Usually if something's just kind of floating randomly, or you can tell that maybe they just experimented and dabbled in this one little area, and it's not necessarily always a bad thing, but if it's just kind of left out there, my typography professor in college used to say, it looks like your sister just stuck it on with a sticker, and that's his big cut down. And I could never quite grasp what he was talking about, but now I kind of get it. It's it looks like somebody just stuck it on there with a sticker, and it wasn't really planned out.
Man, who would do that? Who would just put a bunch of stickers all over the place? It's terrible.
That's part of our whole thing. We stick stickers on all of it.
I was going to say, it's kind of, Lexi, we talked about this a lot early on when you came on and we started mentoring you, where it's you start eagle-eyeing. And I love the example you had of, hey, the logo is just off, whether it's 4 pixels or 8 pixels or whatnot from everything else. Now you start analyzing and immediately going, okay, what else is wrong, versus a quick scan and everything seems to feel right. It's not necessarily having everything needs to be at 8 pixel. It can be variations or whatnot, but the moment something feels out of place, you have that just eagle eye. I'm going to look at everything. And now I'm looking through the whole app for a mistake rather than just using a product or looking at a portfolio and enjoying it and being impressed. You're now trying to see quickly where those issues are. And if you're hiring and looking through a portfolio, that's the kind of thing that like you find one or two, you're done. You just move on to the next one.
I think also another way to think about it that I'm just now kind of thinking about as you say that is like, whether it's 4 pixels or 24 pixels or whatever, and if it's aligned or not, sometimes it works when it's not aligned, but it's almost like if I know you've intentionally chosen 24 pixels rather than it's just randomly 24 pixels,
for sure,
that ends up being like a telltale sign where it's like, oh, you've intentionally chosen all of these negative space increments across the entire design and it works together beautifully. And sometimes you can intentionally choose them and it doesn't work that well. And that's when you kind of have to adjust and tweak. But then once it finally does, it's like, I can tell you why that's 16. I can tell you why that's 20. And I can tell you why that's 8 or whatever, and there's kind of like an intentionality behind every little decision, both negative space and whatever hex code you're using.
Do you ever find that, and it's so true, and I feel like the older and more you get into it, and you see that more and more, do you ever find that like overlapping into real life where you're out and you're like, oh man, that ad for the thing that's off, or oh man, they messed the spacing up on that. I do that everywhere.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Oh my God.
It's a blessing and a curse. I can't, my kids, they hear it from me all the time. I'm like, look at that. There's a bank nearby. I think they might've changed their sign, but it was like AV something, and the kerning was way off. It was like
I do that all the time.
Drive a truck through the A and the V, and then the other side looked, nice. And there's like some other bank that's like Ameripride, and their logo is like 14 times all over the building, and it's like a bunch of like kind of looking Nike swooshes that are all red, white, and blue, and it's like
overkill.
The one that always kills me is, have you seen that HBO, their logo, the H stands like 4 pixels taller than the B and the O? It just hurts just enough. Like it almost makes your spine kind of like tingle. You're like, it's wrong. Get it away.
Yep.
In a weird way, I wonder if there was a designer that was like, you know what? They're going to talk about this. Then one day, designers are going to never stop talking about it, and we're going to get so much views.
Oh man, I hope not.
Could be a little Easter egg where there does, or he's like, I'm doing this because I don't like so and so. Boop boop boop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually like the marketing assistant. She's like, you know what? I'm just going to move this. Jim, whoever designed this, I'm just going to move it just to mess with him.
Well, one thing I want to mention, chatting a little bit more along those lines of in the accessibility realm. So if I'm not mistaken, and I haven't used it in a bit because one, I'm not designing as much anymore, and then I switched to PC for a while. But I think you had an app called Contrast, if I'm not mistaken, that did. I used to use it all the time, checking accessibility, color contrast, and whatnot. Yeah. I think one of the things that I always found the biggest challenge in, I'm curious your take here of like, how do you balance keeping that brand personality or keeping a user interface really interesting when in reality, a lot of times your color palette gets severely restrictive. We don't get all the kind of the dribblification of the light grays and, those muted pastel colors, like none of that works. So what have you found that, helps keep things lively? Yeah,
this is definitely, I definitely nerd out in this area a little bit. And that app, by the way, you can get it for free at usecontrast.com. There's also a Figma plugin that you can use on your Windows machine. Awesome. All of those are free, and I use it all the time. So I went down this incredibly, incredibly nerdy rabbit hole with accessibility. And there's like 3 main scores that you need to pay attention to. And it's like AAA, AA, and AA large. And AA large is the only one that has like font size requirements It needs to be like 18 and a half pixels bold or 24 pixels regular for it to actually be able to use that score. And then there's other requirements where like if there's usable icons within your system and it's like within a button, it needs to be readable. It needs to be like AA large, and it doesn't really have a size requirement. But then there's all these other kind of gray areas of like decorative text. But even beside that, the AA large is like a 3-to-1 contrast ratio. The AA is like 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio. And I'm like, where did these numbers even come from? Like, why are we just accepting this? And so I started going deeper into the research behind why those numbers are what they are. And there was apparently a lot of eye testing that happened. And so they were testing like contrast sensitivity in people with perfect 20/20 vision. And for whatever reason, back in the day when they did all these original like research studies, the 3-to-1 ratio was considered like the minimum contrast ratio that was like acceptable for readable text. And that was like, okay, cool. There's like empirical eyesight studies that like support that. And I went and like actually found the studies and was like reading them.
That's really cool.
And but then there's people who have like 20/40 vision, which is actually pretty bad eyesight. Like I wear glasses, but it's a pretty light prescription, and I don't really notice any contrast sensitivity loss. But people with 20/40 vision, which is like, really quite bad. And you have to have corrective lenses to see it. They suffer like a minimum of like 1.5 points of contrast sensitivity loss, according to like empirical eyesight study. That's where the 4.5 comes from, the 3.0. And then 20/80, which is basically, it is legitimately legally blind. They suffer another, I think it's like 2.5% of like contrast sensitivity loss. That's where the 7.0 comes from for the AAA score. And so that's where those numbers came from. And I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And so, but the web content and accessibility guidelines are kind of like what everybody hails as like the gospel for design and color contrast. I mean, I appreciate them, and I do try to standardize, like if it's going to be readable text, I try to make it 4.5. If there's like some placeholder form copy, I like it to be at like 3.0, because if it's too contrasty, sometimes it can look like it's filled in. But then when you get into the brand colors, like if you have a white background and a bright pink button, it's gonna be probably like failing 2.5 ish or so, but you're also gonna really be able to see it pretty well. And so a lot of times there's like a gray area where you can also have, if something is considered decorative, you don't have a contrast score associated with it. So if there's, faint borders, or in my mind, like if I could make just the text readable, and let's just say it was like hyperlink blue or something, like if I'm passing contrast with that link color, then I don't necessarily mind if my button is like failing, because I think it might actually look good, because if the button background was gone, somebody could still see, oh, click here for this. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, if this was gone, could someone still use it? And if so, then technically you could make an argument that it's decorative and not necessarily a fully like usable thing.
That makes a lot of sense.
You'll have other like hardcore accessibility gurus that will, it almost feels like they just like to tell everyone how inconsiderate they are. And that's like their main job. Is just like, you don't care about, the lesser able, blah, blah, blah. But that's not necessarily true. I think there's a lot of like wiggle room in the brand world and the, accessibility world. And I think it is really smart to have, if you ever design something, or you've ever used an app and you're out in the bright sunlight, and you're like, what does that say? The gray text definitely starts to not be that readable. So
yeah,
it's always good to like go out in the sunlight and look at your designs on your phone.
Those are great tips.
So if you saw me chuckling before when you mentioned 2040 and 2080 being really bad vision,
thinking about you.
A central retinal vein occlusion a couple years back. I'm luckily back to 2020, even though there's some blurriness, but I was 2800 for a couple of months until I had a couple injections. So I'm going, oh wow, I don't know that I fully realized how bad that really was.
Good. 20 was the eye, like,
it just looked like somebody smeared toothpaste all over your lens on one
I can
side.
imagine.
Getting a needle in your eye was a blast. But hey, I'm better, so it's all.
I'm glad you're
good.
better. Needle in the eye is a hard.
At that point, you're not gonna really be reading button text.
No,
you can't read.
At that point, I was wearing an eye patch at the time, so.
I was thinking of you and my mom she's not even using apps. My mom is legally blind. She's not even using apps because there wouldn't be enough accessibility on she'd need like a TV instead of a tablet, like we're not out here trying to be inconsiderate when we're designing things. Yeah.
The other thing I'm curious about more, maybe how you handle it contractually for other designers too, because I know for us, we ask in our project and client intake forums, hey, how important is accessibility to you? Is it a make or break, all or nothing? If so, we will make sure we hit all the numbers. And then if it's not, and you're not worried about that, we also clarify we're not legally responsible for anything, because just in case I can get in trouble for inside information, I will say a previous employer of mine, who will remain unnamed, I came in and I started pointing out accessibility didn't pass. Found out they'd been sued 3 times for over $500,000 and had to pay out for failing accessibility. And I've been hearing more stories over the years of either lawyers just going after people or companies or whatnot.
They'll round up like class action lawsuits on big brands because they have like an inaccessible website.
And they got the money.
Right. So do you have something in your contract that protects you from that's a decision that the client signs off on or whatnot?
I never went so deep on contrast scores in my contract, but I would definitely use a lawyer that would offload, the liability in terms of, I'm not responsible for something going, haywire. I had a client one time that was, they created thermal cameras that monitored heat signatures on factory machinery.
Oh,
and
cool.
And there were like temperature spikes, and it was like really dangerous for this guy to come in and manually inspect all of these machineries or these, I don't know, just big systems and factories. And you had to have, it was like this whole thing. And I'm like, if I'm designing this thing and like something happens, I need to make sure that if one of these machines explodes because they didn't read the heat signature properly, that I don't want to be responsible for that. Like, I will design it, but you are responsible for making sure it all works. And so, that had less to do with like contrast, but I'm like, somebody might blow up because we were like, designing the whole experience with the cameras and like setting the cameras up and all that. Actually, Phil Goodwin designed with me on that project.
That's awesome.
I know that you guys know Phil. So anyway, I never did contrast stuff in my contracts, but I've always kind of advocated for, a solid 4.5 passing for your body copy or 7.0. And I think, there's some ranges I think that look good for dark mode and for light mode. I think if you're too high contrast with like pure white text on a dark background, it's like glowing and vibrating. It's almost hard to read sometimes.
That's fair.
If you like bring it down to like in the 12 range, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, now I can kind of see it. So I've definitely like I'll definitely kind of do an evaluation of someone's colors if I'm trying to use existing brand guidelines to design their apps with. And if I notice something is like off, I'll say like, hey, if we just change this hex code to this one, it'll still be in the general ballpark, but this one's actually like passing accessibility, and it looks like you won't have to worry about this anymore. And it can be tricky with brand colors. I remember, I do remember, I don't know if this is the same. I can't remember if this was the same previous employer or not, but there was a previous employer of a few mutuals that definitely had their primary brand color was like maybe 3.0 exactly. I remember checking it. As soon as we made this app, I'm like checking everything.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see what your contrast is. But I think like primary calls to action too, I feel like there's a little bit of leeway with like 3.0. I feel like there's some really solid brand colors in the 3.0 range. And sometimes there's creative ways to like change the background or change the text color or
I've seen a lot of brands mix up their brand colors because of it. Because you know, when you get into colors like the oranges, you're either Halloween or you become
Texas,
like emoji poop brown. It's not. There's not a good in between, and so I have seen that where companies, if they're not thinking about it at the beginning or they don't have accessibility in mind, they kind of catch themselves in this position of like, shoot, maybe we need to change our primary or secondary color to work better. And I know I've seen that a ton of times over the last like decade. So it poses, you know, some interesting challenges, but
and that should be a question you ask in discovery anyway. Like if you're concerned about it, it's important to you, even your client might not be thinking about it. So, hey, if this is important, then you can plan that on the beginning of the brand side of it and go, okay, we have to really think about this particular thing or accessibility, and then go from there and try to cut it off before it gets to be a problem.
One thing I'm curious about, because I think it's one of the things that I personally, as I've watched and admired your work for probably about 15 years now, has been your utilization of motion design in the work that you do. And that's everything from the push interaction on like an input field to, you know, even everything that you put out in terms of marketing materials for Shift Nudge, or, you know, as you redesign your courses and your websites, there's always those little bit of interactions. And it's cool knowing that stuff that you work on too, you're not just, I'm sure you might collaborate at times, but not just farming out to motion designers. So I'm curious, like, how do you connect those parts of the brain that when you're designing user interfaces, you're also thinking about the motion design? You know, is it like go-to places to find or collect inspiration, or, you know, how do you go about that and really push that level to the next, or work to the next level?
That's a good question, because I've got to, like, I touch on a small amount of motion design, like inside of Shift Nudge, but I didn't really do like a full big deep dive on it, because I feel like that's its, you know, it's its own kind of animal, and it's kind of interesting. Like I will often, like I started building websites back in probably 20 years ago with Adobe Flash.
Heck yeah.
Macromedia. It was Macromedia.
Macromedia, yeah, dude.
This is before Adobe bought Macromedia. So
I've been to that conference.
Probably 80% of people listening is not even going to know what the heck we're talking about. And so I was animating everything, like go to and play, go to and stop. Like that was the first code that I ever wrote. And I was, you know, it wasn't even writing code. It was just like, how do I do this? And
jump from here to here. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like learning how to tween something. When I learned how to move a circle across the screen, I was like,
I remember those days, man.
Like, and then I could click it, and then I could make the ball go across the screen. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be too much fun.
And when you saw that and how to do it, and then you would go to like too advanced and be like, what are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was the FWA.com was like every morning. It was like, what's the site
every
today?
morning. Yep.
And I'm following all these like agencies that are just producing just phenomenal like Flash design, Flash programming work. And so that was like my first experience. That was what really got me excited about web design and digital design in general. And I think maybe just because of those like early days, and I was so impressionable, and I was like, I don't know how to do any of this, but that is awesome. Like, I want to make that.
It was cool.
Super cool. And so some of my early websites are just like the Flash websites I made. I wish I've got like old hard drives somewhere. I need to at least pull them up and like screen record them or something. If you can even download the Swift files anymore.
That's fair.
When was the last time you heard of a Swift file?
Yeah.
Years and years and years and years.
I didn't even know that I was going to say that until it just kind of came out.
You like unlocked parts of Mike's
like,
brain just now.
There's like some motion design cabinet back there that I didn't think about. But nowadays, I'll constantly make a little tiny like motion, like little interactive component with like Smart Animate in Figma. And so I'll make little hovers where it's like, oh, what if I hover this and the arrow's over here, but as soon as I hover, the arrow gets like masked out and then it comes in from the other side. Like, and then I'll go back and it kind of like undoes. And so I'll just kind of have a little idea of like, oh, this could be fun. Or what if the primary call to action has like a little tiny bouncing arrow that's just like making you think, oh, I need to do this before. And so there's so many like cues that you can give a user through like a very clever, subtle animation. And a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this as well, like I will forget that you can do that. I'm like trying to just design the static mock-up and I'm like, oh, I need something. But then usually I'm like, oh, if this all loads in and then there's an animation that happens at the very end, it's usually like, oh, what just moved? And then you're like, oh, that's like the main thing I need them to pay attention to. Or, and there's so many different ways you can do it with the messaging or whatever. And some people definitely go like Framer and Webflow is making it really easy to animate things for no good reason. And I've definitely animated things for no good reason in my day, that's for sure. But I think now it's just like a lot of times if I'm building a marketing site, pretty much every marketing site I've ever made, I just hand coded it with HTML and CSS because that's how I learned. And that's just kind of how I kept making them. And so I would just constantly be like looking for, if you pick up your Apple phone or your iPhone or really any phone and you like legitimately slowly analyze what happens like when you even unlock the screen and you're like, oh, it just like bounces and then it does that. And once you start paying attention to like the pull to refresh and the little things are just bouncy, there's really nothing that doesn't move around. If you touch something, usually it's going to be like, it's going to be like, it's not going to let you, but it's not just going to stay static. Like if I push this water bottle, it's going to move a little bit. And so I just really love the way Apple does that in a very natural kind of way where it's like in the real world, if you push something slightly, it just barely goes. And if you push it hard, it like really goes over. And so I'm kind of like always looking for ways to, if I'm hovering something, what might be cool if I'm hovering this? Could I bump up the contrast on the photo or could we do a like 1.1 scale, just to let the user know that, hey, we see you hovering these things, it might not need to be this big, audacious like interaction, but I'm just always looking for ways to communicate to the person with the mouse or the finger that it's like, I see you and I'm going to put something in for you.
I mean, even right now while we're talking, like our squares light up and it shows a little sound icon moving that lets them know that's the person that's in.
That's right.
Even though we hear it and we see it, it's letting us. That's another visual cue of what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say an app that you might want to check out too is an app called Eagle. I think it's eagle.cool is their website. We use it as a team and it's really awesome. To get the most out of it, you need to be a little meticulous with your tagging and whatnot. But there's a Chrome extension for it or a browser extension, and you can grab an image off of any site. If it's like if you go to CodePen or Timpomus or something, and you grab an animation that inspires you, it'll take that video file recording and be in there. And so we've got it set up where it's like, okay, illustration, and then different types of illustration, web design, product design, buttons. Does it include motion or whatnot? And then we're able to share that with the team. And it's really, really helpful for designers out there to be able to immediately reference everything and then go, cool, I don't have to go search at the start of every project and look up buttons for inspiration. I've already collected all the things I like, and now I can see what's right for this project. And most of the time we reuse a lot of the same inspiration images, but it's so helpful because back when I was a more active CD, I just had to consume stuff nonstop because it was always something would come in and you go, oh, I saw something the other day. I know exactly where we want to take this. Let's look at something like this. And so if you're not constantly consuming and collecting that stuff, you have this, I don't know, I remember I saw something. What was it? It's a great app to organize. And I think it's like $30 for a lifetime license. It's money well spent.
I think that's a great point too, because I remember like there's so many times where if you've ever done like an interview or there's like a blog post, like, oh, send me these questions. It's like, where do you go to find inspiration? And it's sort of like the cliche designer interview question.
Everywhere.
It's like, I'm always looking for inspiration.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be inspired by the back of a truck on the highway.
Oh,
almost every semi truck that I see the back of, I'm like taking a picture of it because I love the industrial look. And I'm like, oh, the way that the gritty type is on, just like kind of got rubbed. Some guy probably hit it with a forklift and just scuffed it up. I'm like, that looks awesome. And
I'm the same way, but with bad logos.
But it's like you're constantly absorbing and just like, oh, I love this. Like, and I think that's how you get really good at design too, because a lot of times you're just generating design, and there's still plenty of times where the first thing I put on the page is like, I would never show this and be like, look at my design. It's usually like a bunch of like brown water that came out of the faucet and you're waiting for the pure water to come out.
No doubt.
I love that.
And then as you just push more volume, something will happen and you're like, oh, something right here, the negative space and that color and that typeface and that weight, something in this little area is like looking really good. And then it's like, now it's your job to like figure out what that is and apply it to the rest of the UI, and just kind of keep doing that over and over and over with all the new screens. And you're like, oh, something worked really good on screen number 20 that now I need to go back and apply to screens 1 through 19 because I learned something, because there's a new little thing. And I think just this big, like, I'm inspired by a new piece of design that I accidentally did, and now that's going to go back and help me.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
That's a great way to look at it. And it's kind of like the secret sauce of putting everything together. Sometimes like one area will hit and then you're like, okay, how do I take that and make everything feel like that magic that I hit in that one area? Super cool. Speaking of which, we have, I don't know if we want to call this a challenge, a game, that we kind of want to propose to you of actually showing you a design and having you take a look at it and give us like, what are those things? What are the things that it's missing? What tweaks would you make? Maybe if it was, a student of Shift Nudge, or if you're just looking at it on the highway, you're like, yeah, it needs these things. So going to think,
what are the things that are going well with it? So we picked an app that we actually use as a team. It's an app called Acuiflow. Kind of aggregates all of your systems into one place. So you kind of have a single task manager calendar app. So it'll grab your Trello cards, Jira, emails, Slack reminders, and gives you one place to monitor and kind of control your day rather than monitor all the systems. So yeah, this is something we didn't do the design, just to clarify. But overall, we really like the app, but always curious to see what's going well, what might you want to tweak a little bit.
Cue
You
it
want to pull that
up.
up, Lexi?
Alrighty. You seeing this?
Do you want a little context to the app or look in blind?
I mean, if you can give me a quick little context.
Yeah. So on the left hand, that menu system and projects, I don't think we use too much, but it just gives you a little way to organize like what kind of task something might be. But you're looking to clear your inbox each day. So think of it like inbox zero for your tasks in a way. So it allows you to see all the things you've got going on again in your email, Slack messages that you want to be reminded of, Trello cards you need to do, and allows you to do all that here, add a new task, etc. And then you can even drag those tasks on your calendar to say, all right, I'm going to clean up my email at 1300 and get that done. So yeah, it really pretty straightforward in that
I've
regard.
never heard of this app. I mean, first of all, the way that I like to do critiques, even with Jiff Nudge students in general, I always go for the critique sandwich.
Heck
I got a
yeah.
little soft bread on top, a little make you feel good about it. Deliver the meat,
You're making me
hard
hungry.
truth, and
Let's
then
go.
a little soft bread on the end. So and
want
this
some
works
soft bread.
not only critique. This works, in real life for like being a parent, dealing with other people.
Oof.
So little snippet there. So first of all, the soft bread. I actually really like this. Like, it looks really good. It looks nice and clean. I thought you were going to show me something that was like atrocious or something, but this actually looks really good. And so I would probably enjoy using this. I'm like, let me see what the name of this is. Like, could this like get me out of a sauna?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here
yeah.
thinking, what could I use this for? Okay. So for my critique here, I think the like menu, inbox today, upcoming, all tasks, I think all of that looks fantastic. And then you got down below projects, you got tool finder and work with their little folder icons. I'm just guessing that apps to review, is that under tool finder? Is that like
That's
in
what
the
it
tool
looks
finder?
like. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
But it doesn't
then-
look like that's an open folder icon. It just
Yeah, that's like, that would be one critique here is like, I believe the apps review is under tool finder, but it almost needs like an open closed folder icon. Sometimes you'll see like the right caret versus the down caret icon, but I can also tell that, projects has the little upward caret and then just above all tasks with the right caret. So if you use carets again, it might just be like too many caret icons or chevrons, whatever the term is. I can never remember.
I like the termed carrot. It goes with the sandwich.
There you go. We're sticking with food theme here.
100%.
And also, even with the apps to review, it's hard to tell. Apps to review because it's darker. It like almost looks like it's a
The
slightly
hierarchy.
larger font size.
yeah.
Like maybe it's like you can tell like the spacing in the menu, inbox today, upcoming, all tasks. It's just so nice and tight. But then under projects, it kind of like expanded a bit for no good reason. It's got like maybe an extra 4 to 8 pixels between each one of these lines. And they probably could have even like moved apps to review where the hashtag was like left aligned with the T and tool. So just like a lot more clear of like the hierarchy. And so that's like a minor, you could probably fix that with a couple lines of CSS, playing around with that. My next, I'm going to move over here to the upcoming middle section. You got today and your to-dos.
Is that
Now,
wigging
I
you
don't
out
have
too?
a lot of,
Is that the alignment wigging you out as well?
the alignment right there. Yeah. Why is today and to-dos not aligned? I'm not sure.
I mean, it's
why.
exactly what you mentioned right at the beginning of like, I'm looking for that invisible line and why is stuff
like,
shifting.
and I think it's okay that the today isn't aligned with the left edge of the add new task bar. But then right below it, they've contradicted themselves by left aligning the T with the left edge of the time zone bar.
Yeah.
And
It's hard to unsee it.
yeah, and it's like, let's just pick one or the other. And also the spacing below today is greater than the spacing below to-dos, maybe by 4 to 8 pixels. And it looks like to-dos is probably a font size or maybe 2 pixel sizes smaller than today. Maybe. I'm just guessing. And I've now that I've been like teaching design for officially teaching design for like 5 years now, I'm such a big fan of like limiting font size changes. If there's like 14 pixel font and 12 pixel font, I mean, sometimes you need that, but if it's like 14 and 13 or 14 and 15, like you just need to like, you can just make everything the same size and it'll just look so much cleaner. And then if you need to bump up your titles like by 2 pixels or 4, it just has a nice clean feel. And so because today and to-dos are like almost the same size, but not quite, I feel like if you just option dragged today down into the to-dos place and then type to-dos and let the 2 push over, like that would just look better.
So I was going to ask you that. What if today is just like the title for the, like, just letting you know you're working on today's tasks? Could you just take to-dos out of it completely and type up there where it says today, just put today's to-dos, and then just make it all about adding tasks right there instead of having it split, like just.
And I think that
rearrange the button.
There's probably more things than to-dos that end up popping into the today slot, and that's probably why it's different. And if you had 4 different categories, then maybe it does need a slightly different treatment.
But as you say that, and I love that, Mike, you called that out, because your background is brand, not product. But like one of the things you always try to do is strip out what's unnecessary.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, there is no other category than to-dos. So I'm with you of like, I would say yoink that and simplify it, because keep in mind the people, your ideal user that is using an app like this, because we are the users of it too. I want something that is simplified. I don't want the chaos. So the more things, and you got to apply for power users or whatnot, but the more things you can remove so that this doesn't feel cluttered and busy, the better. Because I'm using this tool because I'm overwhelmed by having to use all the other tools. Yeah. And that's just one of those things that now my brain has one less thing it has to process. So I love the idea of removing that.
Yeah, I think that's that. If to-dos are the only thing, then absolutely you can probably remove the title and it would be good. So good job, Mike.
No, I'm asking because I'm not in your. I don't do what you do, and it's interesting to see like when you start talking about it, and I see exactly what you're talking about. It's like, okay, this makes sense.
I mean, I really think there's so much crossover between like, making a brand mark and a logo type and like taglines and all the things that go into like graphic design and branding.
That's fair. There's
a lot of crossover.
There's a lot of crossover.
Like you're looking for shapes that don't need to be there. You're looking for titles that don't need to be so it's like
simplify.
Abstract the task of like interface design versus brand design or whatever. You're still doing similar things just with slightly different ingredients. And so I think that's, that would be a good change. And it would look really clean.
I'm taking shift nudge. I'm doing it.
Other than
Watch
that,
out.
I mean, everything else looks really good. Like upcoming and June, like are the same kind of like font size. And they got back to today, and today are like slightly smaller. That looks really good. Calendar looks good. Even this little time zones pop up. I don't really see any atrocities in there. Maybe the flag and the exclamation point could be like center aligned with each other. It looks like the flag and it's such a tiny detail, but I always teach everything is a box in interface design. And so every icon needs to be, usually 24 pixels by 24 pixels. And if you were to draw a box around both of those, you would see that they're offset slightly. And there's really no necessarily good reason for that.
Yeah.
So that could be.
It definitely
slightly-
reminds me of starting out. And Peter's biggest piece of advice to me was to be eagle-eyed in my own designs. And it's so interesting how, I think I would have approached looking at this so different a year from now, a year ago, and now being able to, just hear you really go through with a fine-tooth comb. I think it's such a good thing, whether you're a designer or just whatever work you're doing. Go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Be eagle-eyed on your own design so that by the time you present it to somebody else, you've worked out those small things, and then you're getting the better feedback too. Instead of, someone hearing this might be like, well, why does it matter if, this isn't perfectly aligned? Well, it does. We look at it and our eyes go there. It hits there right away,
Yeah. And the truth is, like,
why are you laughing? What did I say?
I'm thinking about like that person's also not good at taking criticism or getting feedback from anyone.
This is
They
need training in that, right? That's what I was giggling about.
I love it.
I've definitely, remember people crying during group critiques in college.
No way.
Where the professor just like eviscerating their design. They've pinned up on the board, and then the tears are falling. Like, because no one necessarily knows how to give critique, and no one knows how to receive critique either.
Not at that level. Yeah, you're learning how to do it.
And I think a lot of the professors, they've been doing that for so many years. It's just like, screw the bread. We're going straight to the meat. There's no soft bread in this session.
You know what? That would be a really good tip for new professors teaching students. That like, hey, maybe when you're teaching how to do critiques of work, like open it with like, this is the sauce. This is how we're going to do this. So we know how to accept it. We know how to give it. Yeah. And you're right. Some people get so overwhelmed. They've done it so much. They don't do that. Yeah. But crying? Wow.
My personality is just like, eviscerate me. Tell me what I'm doing wrong so that I can fix it.
I want to know.
And
I want to know how to get better.
I cry later, okay? Don't cry in front of people. Cry later.
Oh, that's funny. I can't. If tears are going to come, it's going to happen in the moment for me. Like, I'm just going to like cry in front of you.
Right on.
See, no, then I would be crying about crying.
Oh my God.
Well, what's your soft bread to this one before we jump into it?
I mean, my ending soft bread is like, this looks really good. There's like a lot of times I will come across a design that just looks really good. And even Shift Nudge students, ideally they're getting to the place where they're producing really good designs. And so I have to like really ratchet into a high gear and just painfully dissect 4 pixel increments that are off and exclamation points that aren't underlined, perfectly optically aligned with the flag. And is that going to make or break your app? No. Is somebody still going to be able to use it? Yes, it'll be fine. But if you want to get to the absolute, I like to think of design where it's like sculpture in a way. It's like, let's take everything away that doesn't need to be there until we're done and we're looking at David or whatever the sculpture is. And I think a lot of brand design, logo design, icon design, interface design is that way. It's like, what can we remove and it still has what it needs?
Oh yeah.
And
key. That's the key for sure.
And so like that also means where are there straggling 4 pixels that don't need to be there? We can just take it out.
This is a good example of like, if you gave me 5 to 10 minutes with this file, I feel like we could correct all the things that we here thought needed a little bit of improvement. This isn't scrap and start over. And that's what you want. When we look at hiring designers or whatnot, I don't want to be in critique means scrap and start over. We're just looking, how do we make something that lasts 5 or so percent better at the end to put that final polish on it, or again, reduce things, make it a little bit better. I think this is a great example of something that is in really good shape. A couple of critiques here and there, and this is killer.
And also like, this is the time you might because this is a live app and everything's like good to go, who knows if they have like this well-built design system that gets pushed directly into code. And so this might just be like, hey, can I sit down with the front end developer for 30 minutes? And can I just be like, hey, where's the CSS for this like apps to review thing? Can we like remove 4 pixels of padding from that one line? Mm-hmm. And sometimes, depending on the team, that's the best way to do it. It's like, hey, what's happening over here with the flag icon and the exclamation point icon? Like, I know they're different components because one is whatever, but it's like there's probably like somewhere it says an 8 and somewhere it says a 4, and we just need them both to say one or the other. And
that's right.
It's such a small little thing, but it goes back to just being intentional about. I'm just making sure that we've been intentional about every decision, and how you do anything is how you do everything. And a lot of times, and just
preach.
That's a nugget right there.
You can get sucked into the details and you can tweak forever, and maybe you don't make as much progress. So there is a time to stop and ship it. It's like, we don't have time. And I get that too. But if you do want, to create the best possible thing, I think you just have to pay attention to every little detail. Michelangelo, or he wasn't, half carving an eyeball on the David sculpture and just being like, it looks like an eyeball. Like, no, that thing is proportional. That thing is like, there's nothing wrong,
Right.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Well, look, speaking of getting in, like being in good shape and also being intentional, one of the things I love about you is the fact that you take care of yourself. And I love catching up with you on Instagram and following along with your health journey. And so I want to switch gears a little bit into that and tell us a little bit about like a typical day for you and like why that is so important for you. And I just want to say, for me personally, it's a huge inspiration. I'm a big dude. I'm working on my own self all the time, and to see another creative out there that gets it and is making it an everyday thing and pushing the rest of us to get out of our seat more, it's awesome. So thank you for that. But let's chat about your typical day.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. I'm pretty much over it at this point, but there's definitely been some times where I'm like, should I post this run? Should I post another video of me lifting weights again? Like, people are tired of that. Like, we all have this negative self-talk, and it's like, this is stupid. Like, I shouldn't post that. But I'm definitely at a point now where I'm like, I don't care. I'm posting it.
You'd be surprised who you're helping, man. You don't know who's going to see that for the first time.
Sharing is caring, and so I'm glad that you are one of the people that appreciates it.
Dude, it's big time.
I mean, like, I feel better when I'm working out. Simple as that. I feel better. When I look better, I feel better. When Truth. I feel better, I feel better. And, it really just is very simple. And I make smarter decisions with what I put in my mouth when I'm training and I'm trying to like hit a goal. And if I'm not eating junk, I don't feel that bad. And if I'm eating well and I have like a good plan, then it just makes me feel good. And I get better sleep, and I wake up and I'm more energized, and I can attack my workout the next day better. And I just kind of love the idea of like for all of us, like, how good could I get? Like, what is my limit? What is my limit? Like, imagine if you just like released all of your excuses and all of the reasons you can't do something. And you're like, what if there's like this 10.0 version of myself that I just don't even have a clue of where it is? Like, I'm just going to try to get directionally correct. I don't know if I'll ever necessarily hit that person, but that's sort of like how I think about it, because I've definitely been, 10, 15 years ago, I wasn't doing anything, and I was drinking Coca-Cola Classic all day long, staying up till 3 a.m, designing. Back in my day, there was no LaCroix.
Right. And that's staying up till 3 a.m. I'm struggling with it still, but
say, how many texts do you get from me?
No, I mean, I'm definitely like a natural night owl, and it's been, and even now one of my bad habits now is I will play chess on my phone for way too long at night. This is the nerdiest like bad habit you could possibly have.
Mine is Spider Solitaire. I understand.
And I'm like, oh, just one more game. And then finally it's like, oh, I should be sleeping. Like I shouldn't have done this for like an hour. So a normal day, I go through phases. I got really into cycling many years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And that was like a new thing that I just really enjoyed. I'm like, oh, this could be my new thing. But then winter inevitably comes and you're like, it's really cold outside.
It really is.
And so I don't want to be going 20 miles an hour through the wind in this like tiny spandex suit. And so
you can get up there on the bikes. Those bikes will get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then I got sort of back into weight training in the gym, and I was like, oh, I haven't like lifted weights since like college. This is pretty fun. And I just went, and then I was like, there's a half marathon that always happens in Athens called the Half, which is very hard to say.
Definitely.
And every year it comes, it's a big thing. And I'm like, I want to run that thing. And so I pulled out my spreadsheet and I found like a training plan, and I did this like 12-week schedule.
That's awesome.
I just whatever the day said, I just did it. And I just was like, I'm just going to be a machine about it. It tells me what to do. I'm going to do it. And so that got me really into running. And that was probably, I don't know, 8 years ago when I did my first half marathon. And so then I'm just like, okay, now I want to go back into weight training. Now, maybe I can like cut some fat. Maybe I can get some like visible abs, because if I did that, then I would feel even better. And
man, abs. What are those? Who's seen abs? I saw abs in the 8th grade. Now I see the keg. If I get abs again, I'm rocking every stinking podcast shirtless. I'm just gonna let y'all know I'm gonna be the guy on our team. It's like I'm gonna show up to every meeting, no shirt.
I'll start a podcast just to have you on as a guest.
I'm doing it. We're gonna get there. That's awesome. We're gonna have this meetup again, and I'm gonna have no shirt on. It's gonna be great. Until then, don't use your imagination. All right.
So current day, I had this crazy idea to start training for an Ironman, which is like triathlon.
Yeah, that's hardcore.
So I'm like, well, I've got a decent background in cycling. I've been running a ton. I've never formally trained swimming at all. So now
swimming's rough too.
I'm just following this spreadsheet again. It's like, today's a 45-minute swim. Okay, well, I'm going to be swimming it up today, even though I'm like the mental fortitude it takes for me to swim for 45 minutes straight is pretty hard. And so I really just like have to let my mind drift somewhere else and just not think about every stroke, because I don't love swimming right now. I love running. I love riding my bike. Now I can just like, I'll go for an hour and a half run and just be like, I love this.
You're
like,
in it.
I'll just slow it down.
Yeah.
Heart rate zone 2, just with no headphones. I'm just chilling. I'm like, this is awesome.
What's the swim distance?
The swim distance for an Ironman, it's like 1,900 meters, which is just under 2 miles.
Oh my God.
It takes about 45 minutes to an hour.
Are you in a river?
This one's at the beach. I'm doing the one in North Carolina,
in the ocean.
On the beach.
Yeah.
Right. So I convinced my brother-in-law to do it. He's into various physical endeavors as well. We ran the half marathon together at one point, and we thought it would be fun to just like, he's got 3 kids, I got 4 kids, and we're like, we want to stay healthy. I want to like run around kick the soccer ball around. My 18-year-old is doing Brazilian, or 17-year-old. He's about to be 18. He's doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Sick.
And he's trying to like, every time he gets the chance, he's trying to like, but I'm like, I've been lifting weights for a long time. And even though I don't know all of the moves, my older brother used to try them a lot on me. So I'm not too bad with arm bars and whatnot. And so I told him, I'm like, one day you will be stronger and better than me.
It's not today.
It's not today.
That's great.
That's the way you say it. That's right.
That's right. Not today.
That's hilarious. Buddy. So with all your exercising every single day, are like you get done with your routine for whatever you choose exercise wise. I'm assuming you come home, you hit a healthy meal if you can, and then you're in work mode. And what does that look like? Like, what is your setup for work mode? Is it like ergonomical? Is it like what? How do you set up your desk to keep that momentum?
So right now I'm either doing like swimming, running, or biking. Sometimes, like today, I did all three. I did my. It's not very. I don't have it dialed in. I'm not like this absolute beast of a machine that never misses. I'm like, oh, it's 6:05.
For sure. Yeah.
And so like I will constantly miss something, or I forgot to do it or whatever. And so even though I am doing a lot of quantity, there's still plenty of times where I'm like, I could have been better. I could have managed my time better. But I will say like I know what I'm going to have to do in October. And if I don't train for it, it's going to be absolutely brutal. And so I want to make sure that I'm hitting all these, like every day I'm doing all the training. And so because I need to do like at least an hour, sometimes 2 hours of random things, I'm like, okay, I legitimately need to do something between 6:15 and 7:15 if I want to be able to be done in time to take my 15-year-old to school, while my wife is taking the other two kids to school. And if I drink my coffee for 30 minutes too long, then I miss my window.
Yeah.
And I love drinking my coffee on the front porch and got my Kindle.
The best.
Getting a little chilly, turn the fire on.
Waking up slow. Yeah.
Yeah, I love doing that. And so, figuring out, again, coming back to like 4 pixels versus 8 pixels, it's like 15 minutes versus 30 minutes. If you're intentional with a small amount of time, sometimes you could easily fit in a 30-minute run if you plan when you're going to go, and then maybe I need to take a shower and whatever. Because you look at your screen time, like nobody look at the screen time, but like there's so much time that
we all waste a ton of time a day.
And so I just try to be more signing up for things and like trying to commit to things. It just sort of forces me to be more intentional. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. That's good. It sort of reminds me of like how even having kids kind of, it kind of forces the constraints on your life. It's like, my baby's going to be sleeping now, and if I don't do something now, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
I think a big thing for creative people that's really important, and you can get away with it a little bit when we're younger. As you start getting older, it gets harder and harder, but you don't have to do everything necessarily. Obviously, the more you do, the better it is. But like, stop pulling the late nights. Take care of yourself, eat well, get sleep, work out or whatnot. Like something I struggled with was I didn't want to work out because I had other things to do that took away from family time, or it took away from time I needed to get things done. And then when you realize like, wait a second, when I get into a rhythm and I work out, like I do Monday through Thursday. And it's like, I actually get a lot more done on those days because now I feel better after doing that.
You're awake.
By getting sleep rather than staying up every night. All of a sudden, like I feel a lot better. It's really important to do that stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like the quality of hours after you really focus on your physical health or whatever, like those next 7 hours are more quality hours than and I'm still guilty of just like done with my coffee and right on my computer. And then like, I think I'm going to like just bang out a bunch of work and I'll stop at lunch and then I'll work out, or like, and it doesn't happen. And so I've been thinking about this with like, this is sort of a weird metaphor, but we're all probably using AI from time to time, like ChatGPT, what should I do here? Blah, blah, blah. And a lot of times I'm thinking of, now the hot topic with AI is like context, like give it context and then everything will flow kind of like downstream from what you did, what you put into the very front end. Now our conversation and everything downstream is really affected by what you said initially.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm thinking like, okay, if I upload this text file, then it has this context. But if I asked it completely different question, like be a sharp critic of this idea versus like, tell me how great this is, it'll give you different. And so I'm like, my work is downstream of my morning and my morning is downstream of my evening. And so if I put a bunch of junk into my night. Like I have a PlayStation 5 like over here in one of these drawers that has been in the drawer for about a year now because
Guilty.
my kids got me really into playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
And
Love
I
it.
was like getting pretty good.
I used to see you on a good bit. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
played a ton, and you know what? I'd never wanted to quit. And I'm like, I'll just play a quick game at lunch. And then I'm like 3 hours later, like, oh my gosh.
Sounds so familiar.
I have like a binge personality. Like it's easy for me to binge drink. It's easy for me to
Shows.
binge Netflix shows. It's
Yep.
easy for me to eat 400 Reese cups during Halloween. It's easy for
Yeah.
me to eat an entire
Yep.
thing of cream cheese icing, which I have done before.
Me too.
Oh, jeez.
It's not a
I'm
smart
just-
move. It's not a smart move if you have diabetes.
I'm just gonna drool my way through the
So
rest of
good,
this
though.
episode.
Chocolate
My
one, the
gosh.
chocolate
So
one is
you got to stay on the food thing here.
ridiculous.
You know, there you go.
But I realized, if I can redirect that personality flaw and use it as a superpower, it's like I can get really into working out. I can redirect that energy into, well, I guess I can swim for 30 minutes, then I can ride my bike for an hour. I've got my bike back here that I'll set up at this desk, and I'm like I'll do like an hour of zone 2 on my bike while I'm working. And so that's like, I'll get a towel. I was like, I get pretty sweaty, so I got to put a towel down, but I'm like, I'm just going to make it work because I got to do work and I need to get this bike ride in.
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. That's a great piece of advice for all of us who sit in a desk and or like our jobs are all sit down jobs. Like this, we're in our desk because we have to be. Luckily, I know a lot of our teammates have gotten the standing desks with the treadmills, and they're walking while they're working, which is great if you can figure out a way to do that. But I think that's great advice for folks that feel stuck. Like, hey, like change your whole mindset about how you invest in your day.
Yeah,
and you're going to get more out of it.
Another thing that I've been reading this book called "Don't Believe Everything That You Think." And it's been talking a lot about like the difference between a thought and thinking about that thought. Like a thought, it would be like, oh, imagine your dream. What do you want to dream about in your life? And then you're like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden you shift towards, yeah, but I can't do that because I got a baby and I got this thing I got to do. And I can't that. And then we're thinking about that thought. And that really kind of like causes this like paralysis. And sometimes we're like, oh yeah, I need to work out. I'd love to take care of myself, but, and so like this book talks a lot about like, you don't have to do all that thinking. Like that's in a lot of ways is causing you like this internal suffering. And so I like to just set a time sometimes like for working out, for example, and just be like, at this time, I'm going to spend 30 minutes and I'm going to do this thing, or maybe it's 15 minutes. If you don't run, like I'm going to walk around the block a single time. And that might be my workout.
Make it start off small. Yeah. Yeah. I like
just
that.
And because it compounds over time and you get better, you get faster, you make better decisions. And I think thinking about it for too long will be debilitating. And I've definitely experienced that as well.
Yeah. I think we all have at some point. I feel like I'm in that
paralysis
mode now. Yeah, it is. It is until you start doing it. And then when you start seeing results, you want to do it more. And that's where I'm at now is seeing the results finally. And it's like, okay, for the first time in my life, I'm actually reading the labels and I'm making sure, like you said, what is going in because I'm tired of the garbage, and
so good.
And seeing that go over the last month of making sure I'm tracking my steps, my water intake, my calories, and I'm really just making an effort to make it part of my new routine.
Yeah.
I'm down 12 pounds and I'm on the right road to moving the needle on all my other numbers for everything else. And I'm a big dude. Like you know me, you met me in person. I want to be I always want to command the room when I walk in it, but not in a way that's like, oh, hide your donuts. Like I don't want to be that guy anymore. I want to be like the guy that's like, you walk in and like, oh, we don't want to mess with him. But then you find out I'm a nice dude. So it's like, I just want it to be different, and I mean, I'm on the right track. So like, I appreciate you again for putting it out there. Don't stop putting those videos out there. Folks see that and it goes along a lot further than you think. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
I've got some videos that I haven't posted yet today that I will post, and I'll make sure to tag you.
Dope. I appreciate it.
I love it. Well, it seems like there's a lot of really good, nuggets in this for people. If you could just boil it down to like top 3, top 5 of like quick one sentence, like something someone could write on a post-it note, stick above their monitor. What's kind of your philosophy for designers, creatives that advice that you would give?
I would say that you should design every detail. Design every detail of your life. Design every detail of your brand, your interface, and if you're intentional about the details, it just all stacks up into something beautiful.
That's
I love
so good.
that. Love it.
Yeah, definitely writing that one down.
Well, and kind of one more, just kind of connecting a little bit of, we were talking about a lot of physical fitness stuff. Where on the design side do you think people can really sharpen those skills as well? Like in terms of, is it a book? Is it a course? Is it things that you do on the daily? Like, something we often tell designers in their like mid-year or end-of-year reviews is, doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. It could be 20 years. It's still putting in the reps and working on different things, and like we're always going to get better. What are some of those things that you find, maybe even more for more experienced folks? Like what do those reps look like? What do you recommend to somebody to continue to elevate?
I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with like never stopping looking for inspiration. And also, I think the most important thing that you can do is have the mindset of, I'm not done learning. I'm not at my top level, because once you feel that way, I feel like then you probably stagnate and you aren't in a growth mindset anymore, and you've kind of like limited yourself. And so I'm still screenshotting designs. I'm like, oh, how did they do that? Like, oh, like I feel like there's still plenty of times where I feel like, I'm having such a hard time with this design, and I'm looking for inspiration. I'm screenshotting things, and I still feel like I can get better and I can continue to grow as a designer. And so I think one of the things that is sort of a secret, not really secret, but one of the interesting things that I think any designer can do is just have a project that is fun. That's just for fun.
Good.
There's no pressure to make a bunch of money. You're not trying to sell templates, and sometimes those are fun, but it can be really helpful to just have a project that you just love tinkering with. And you love, like, it's a brand or it's a website or it's vibe coding something or whatever you want to do. Like, just, have something that you enjoy, that you fully control, that you're like, I'm going to make this awesome. Like, I'm going to make it fun because I like it, and that's it. And so I think that a lot of times will allow you to capture some of the magic that maybe drew you into design in the first place. Because there's still times where I might see something and I'm like, oh yeah, you can make design awesome. Like sometimes I forget that. Sometimes it's just like, the user needs to be able to click this button, and we got accessibility, and
it's not always about function.
Yeah, and like function's important, but have some fun.
I agree. I 100% agree. You got to have a passion project. Have something on the side that you're working on. It's something that you don't care what people think. You're just doing it because you enjoy it.
Yes.
I'm really curious. The way you phrase something, it just made me think of something through like a new lens for the first time. And that is when I see designer portfolios, because like you said, always absorb things, always collect inspiration or whatnot. And when I see portfolios that are from, let's call them the more veteran designers, but their work doesn't show the same quality that we would look for now, kind of thing. It feels outdated or whatnot. It really has me wondering, going, I mean, anybody, you can go download something, go look at something and say, all right, let me recreate this. We are all capable of doing cutting edge design. I mean, it's circles and squares and rectangles and shadows and colors. Like at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. And it really makes me recognize a little bit of just how much it might just be that somebody's not bothering to keep up and go look at things. And so they're stuck in how they've done it or what their company's doing or the limitations.
Yeah.
Because I see portfolios all the time from people that go, well, this is what I do at work. It's not what I like to do, but this is what make me do. Well, then don't put it in your portfolio.
And this is probably how they feel when they're doing that work.
Oh,
Yeah.
all
Right.
day. Why am I here? Coffee.
But like,
why am I here?
seeing that work that I look at and go, if you're looking at new stuff, you got to know this isn't really cutting it either. But not taking that initiative or whatnot. I'm kind of connecting the dots of like, there's just got to be no way that collecting inspiration is a part of this person's daily routine, because otherwise, I think we would see something so radically different.
Yeah, and I think that's the key too. Is like a lot of times the work is a representation of like the internal monologue and the way they feel, and it's like, if you've ever gone to a concert and it was like the most boring, like, what is I thought it was like
Nobody's
good.
jumping up and down, nobody's clapping, nobody's enjoying it.
They're
They're
like
just
the
standing
people
there.
that are like loving it, you're like, let's freaking go, whatever. And there's just like, there's energy, associated with art and with design. And I think sometimes that comes through in like the most boring screenshots of your portfolio. Then it's like, did you spend any time thinking about what was going to go in this square? Because
That's it.
Yeah.
just doing this and putting a little drop shadow, is not always the best way, to like display your work. And so, yeah, I definitely feel you on that one.
I think that the inspiration portion of it should become part of your daily mix. Like, you get up, you have your coffee, you get on for 15 minutes, you're scrolling through the stuff that like, or you're walking on your outside walk and you're getting your inspiration there, you're finding it online right at the beginning of your day, and tucking those things away, whether it's with Eagle or Pinterest or whatever you use, it doesn't matter. I think it's important to put that in your daily routine. Find a way to like see something else or see what else is out there, even if it's scrolling Dribble for whatever, I don't know, the popular page to see what's going on. Any of those, or reading blog posts of like things that are currently happening in our world, can really help you on your journey every single day.
There's a whole movement of people that are kind of going back to like old school journaling, but like hodgepodging, and they will literally put together these little scrapbook pages of their day based on like items of trash or things that they found, like random bits and bobs, but it's like, here's the story of my day throughout this thing. So it's like, here's the fish that's from the wrapper of this candy that I ate, like just really interesting little pieces. And I think it really comes back to like, what are we gaining inspiration from? If we're only getting it from one place, we're also going to have results that are one dimensional. But if we're constantly looking for it, we're going to be better, well-rounded designers.
Agreed.
Let's get out and touch grass. Go talk to different people.
Well, that's bits and bobs,
Bits and bobs, man.
Bits and bobs. But touching grass, yes.
Such a great
for
little...
sure. Outside.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, Matt, I know we got a little bit of a late start. I don't want to keep you too much longer. Anything else that you want to share with us today, or things that you want to showcase a little bit in terms of your courses or whatnot? Let people know where to go
drops.
and sign up.
Drops.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really putting in the work on Instagram now. And if you want to check me out, MDS on Instagram, I'm doing a lot of like video production and doing a lot of like trying to get professional about marketing and trying to have fun making content as well. That's been sort of like
it looks great. It looks really, really good.
It's good content, man.
And so that's kind of been a fun outlet to be creative. So yeah, MDS on Instagram.
Awesome.
Message me hello and I'll say hello right back.
I love
Fantastic, man.
That's great.
Final question.
Final
okay.
underscore V2.
How much do you bench press?
Oh man. So I haven't maxed out in quite a while, but before I was lifting 5 days a week, but since I've been doing Ironman training, I'm only doing like once or twice a week now, maybe. But I was doing mostly incline bench press, and I got to where I was doing like 225 for 8.
That's good.
I don't
you're not
know
a
what that
giant
translates
dude.
to. I think I might have gotten to like 250 for 3, maybe at one point. I was definitely at one point I was trying to get up to 300, but at a certain point too, I was like, it's more of an ego thing, and I'm
Of
like,
course, it's like I can do this.
it's not going to benefit my life that much to be able to lift 300 pounds off my chest. Like if I'm in a car, like cars weigh more than that.
Yeah, you're not. It doesn't make. It's just. It's more about like I can do this.
So now I'm trying to do like lighter, like deep squats, like all the way down to the ground without my knee like shattering into a million pieces and stand back up with just like 135 pounds. Okay, I don't need to be like
Lightweight, more reps, solid
That's right.
reps. That's right. Thank
Try
you
to
so
get
much for everything,
more.
dude. We appreciate you having.
Thank you so much for being
giving us your
here.
time.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure to chat with you all.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Contrast. Thank you so much for sticking around. We'll see you next time.